Okay, we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Polkadot broadcast. Kristen here. Today with me is Marco from Magenta Labs. They're focusing on the BD and funded by the Web3 Foundation. It's really honored to have you here today because,
Oh, thank you.
yeah.
Thank you, Kristen. And it is an honor to be here.
Because actually, if we can see some project appears in Polkadot ecosystem, sometimes it's been a lot of work that being putting forward, but the effort that people can see is very, very little. So I think it's a good opportunity for us to communicate with the community and to give them a more clear picture that what is the BD team is working on and what the opportunities that is heading us. So very looking forward to our conversation.
Perfect.
Okay, let's kick things off. I think the first thing we want to touch on is that I really like you to share more about your background because BD, when I first started to work, BD work is the most challenging work I've ever, from my personal perspective. You have to deal with complicated people, and you have to understand their knowledge, and then try to communicate and to reach out your goals. It's very challenging work. So can you share about your background? That have you always been doing the BD work? And when you started your Magenta team that is totally focusing on the BD.
So, well, I started being involved with crypto in 2016. Before that, I had a marketing company and IT company. But I saw crypto as a very promising field, and I managed to move full-time crypto around 2021. My background, so it's entrepreneurial first, but also I was a dev in the past. I did a lot of marketing. And in crypto, I try to use my skills, and I was lucky enough to cover many different positions and advisory roles for many ecosystems, covering community, decentralized governance, marketing, go-to-market, partnership, and also what we call BD. That sometimes could be real BD, so business development. No other time it is mostly seen as sales. So I think that everything that I did in the past gave me the chance to have a sort of elastic, holistic view in the overall crypto ecosystem, and gives me the chance to understand how everything connects, how the coordination between the actors is very, very important, how the incentive part is important, but should not also always be focused on monetary incentives, because there are many different incentives that can be poured to attract. Could be retail users, could be devs, could be marketers, could be projects builders, and also Web2 companies. And this is where I was when I decided with my co-founder to start Magenta. Magenta started as inside the decentralized future program. But why starting Magenta? Well, after doing a lot of BD with different ecosystems, etc., and this is something that you can hear everywhere now. BD most of the time was seen as narrative. So we are attracting this logo, this brand, we are attracting this project just because we want to run a marketing stunt. We hope that just having this logo, this brand, will help us growing the value of the token or to attract more people. So the border between marketing and actually business development was very, very thin. What we wanted to do with Magenta was, focusing on execution, focusing on real deployments, focusing on real growth, in a total alignment with what the ecosystem needed, both explicitly, so what was asked by the ecosystem, but also what we saw that was missing. The Polkadot, why Polkadot? Well, Polkadot because even if many are saying that not a lot was happening on Polkadot, actually Polkadot is a very big and strong ecosystem. It has a very big community. Of course, it as in every single ecosystem that there are people that are not happy, that say the progress are slow, etc. But the bold proposition from Polkadot last year was we will focus on the lever, Polkadot Hub, something that was not there, something that was new, EVM based also to attract others, but also to make it more, easy to approach for everyone, but also to approach liquidity that was pouring in other ecosystem. Polkadot Hub is not an easy task. It is an enormous technical task with a lot of difficulties that drain the minds of extremely good tech people and engineers and Parity and other teams for a lot of months. Because everything that we see that could be seen as easy externally, it is not easy at all. So Polkadot Hub was and is an enormous opportunity for growth for Polkadot. And Polkadot has always been an ecosystem with a strong crypto ethos too, with a very engaged community, and you could see it on the forum, you could see it in many chats, etc. And if you go around and ask about which ecosystem people know, Polkadot is most of the time one of the ecosystem that everyone knows. Maybe because it was someone feel it that it was a missed opportunity, but it doesn't mean that this missed opportunity will remain missed all the time. Not being forced to talk about Polkadot all the time because everyone knew about Polkadot is an opportunity itself, because it has a real positioning. It has a real positioning, something that tried to do something different, that anticipated the needs of L2s in Ethereum without the friction that L2s had for so long. Building such an amazing tech that gave the chance to everyone to start the chain and being able to, be interoperable, being able to share liquidity, being able to share a lot as in Polkadot was not simple. It was not something that you could find anywhere. And still now, I think that this is something very relevant on the Polkadot ecosystem. But Polkadot Hub, I think that came from the realization that you needed a common ground, a common place where everything could happen, and that could actually help other parachains to actually grow and become what they were supposed to become. We know that some parachain had succeeded, others didn't. Someone is running great numbers, but the market is not giving them the chance. But sometimes we know that the market is blind on some things, and maybe it is just matter to wait for opportunities. So that's why I'm here. That's why Polkadot. That's why we think that Polkadot has great chances to become a very relevant ecosystem in the future.
Yes, the tech and the community are the reasons that you love Polkadot. And let's come down to some concrete work you've been doing. You've mentioned that you're working with institutions. So what is you are basically dealing with mostly in Polkadot ecosystem. I mean, their institutions or their governments or their Web3 native teams or even Web2 companies, they are just trying to explore Web3. So what is the BD like in Polkadot ecosystem?
Well, I would say that it changed over time with how crypto itself, Web3, is changing. Polkadot is not an island. It's part of a bigger ecosystem that is Web3, and it is actually a term that Kevin would create. So right now, we say that the focus is mostly on what we call Web2 to Web3, less on Web3 native projects. Why so? Well, we know that Parity and the Polkadot ecosystem now is shifting more on deploying products. And when you deploy products, you are looking for users, etc., etc. You're looking for to deliver something that other teams were not able to ship.
Mhm.
So while we are very open to always talk and listen to great Web3 projects, new ideas that are built on top of the Polkadot tech, what is really needed, what makes sense to build on Polkadot, then we always listen. Because at the end, just forking a project from one ecosystem to another could be, as I was saying before, a good PR stunt, but most of the time doesn't deliver anything. So you need new ideas, you need bold ideas, but at the same time, you need to attract real users, you need to attract distribution. What crypto is showing lately is that distribution is king, as it was as it is in Web 2. Distribution that is coming in many different ways, but distribution cannot come to Polkadot by itself. It must have big and strong products. And how can we accelerate it? Maybe attracting Web2 companies that already had user bases that will shift part of what they're doing in Web3. Web3, so not as a product itself, but as an enabling tech of everything that is happening. So if we are able to attract real user, distribution, liquidity, and transaction, etc., then we'll fuel the growth of the product that will build on Polkadot. This is not, that doesn't mean that in the past we were not focusing also on Web3 tech. Web3 tech and Web3 builders are very important. But as I was saying, when you are doing BD, you cannot just say yes to everything. You base everything on some filters that you are using in order to get what you want to get. Because at the end, everything is based on the outcome. You are measured always by the outcomes, by the deployments, by everything that makes sense for the ecosystem. Is a random project that is actually not using Polkadot tech, that is not giving any utility to DOT, that it's not expanding the ecosystem worth it on Polkadot to give the attention of everyone? Maybe not. So they can deploy anytime that they want, but maybe a BD as a concept should not focus on them. While focus on what actually can push growth over time. And growth, I don't mean what narrative growth. I need real growth. We need real growth. We need the growth on, on the liquidity. We need growth on the user base. We need growth on valuable projects that are deployed, but also at the end on the value of the overall ecosystem that most of the time is translated on the value of the token.
Yeah, the BD's work is very flexible, but the outcome is, hard to reach. Have to growth liquidity and to attract new users. But because you guys are working supported by the Web3 Foundation, the work is very flexible, but do they have some concrete KPIs or some deliverable outcomes that to value your work?
Well, KPIs must be concrete, else it's just marketing. KPIs cannot be, let's have an announcement tomorrow. Let's have an announcement tomorrow is a KPI for a marketing team that is actually helping everyone's work to be showcased. But just showcasing something doesn't mean that we are doing something good for the ecosystem. We use a KPI framework and this KPI framework is based on things like the pipeline health, the pipeline of all the projects that we are discussing with. So how many qualified leads we have. And qualified means that they must fall under the guidelines that Web3 Foundation, but also the other ecosystem is looking for. Then how many active conversations, how these conversations are going. Are they positive? Are they negative? Because you must keep filtering everything in order to just focus on what can be done. And then you need to convert everything in a work stream that can have as a result maybe a deployment on testnet and then on mainnet and then product growth. So real numbers. You need pilots, MVPs, but everything that must be very scoped in order to get integrations that make sense for the ecosystem. Something that makes sense for all the stakeholders and the shareholders of Polkadot. something that can let everyone say, this is what was missing, this is very needed. And at the end, since we started, we spoke with countless projects. I'm not even joking if I tell you that we connected to more than 250, maybe 300 good
Wow.
projects. We're not talking to, we are just focusing on very good projects. But not every one of them is a good fit. We converted dozens of them in conversation and then work streams. We are focusing then and giving priority to what makes sense right now. And let's remember that BD work is not simple if you are also waiting for the deployment of a testnet and a mainnet. As I was saying, we are not seeing just the deployment of a generalistic EVM chain. This is something bolder. This is something that is an intersection about two different virtual machines. We are talking about EVM with PVM, and it brings a lot of challenges. Challenges on how gas is measured, for example, challenges on which contracts will work, which contracts will break. It is not simple, and you cannot do it until all the bugs are resolved. So the priority is, first of all, on everything that can be seen as foundational, and then you can move on deploying more stuff that will help others to deploy. But you are not able to do a lot of deployments if the chain is missing. That's the point. And the hub is announced to be ready this month. And when it will happen, it will give a new chance to many teams to deploy and start something new. It is not
Yeah.
simple. It is not just a translation of code saying, oh, I was deploying on Arbitrum, let's say, and now I want to deploy on Polkadot. There is a lot of work to do, and this work must be overseen in order to be sure that everything will actually work and won't break. Because most of the time we're working with people, money, with wallets, etc. You cannot have something that will break.
Yeah, Hub is a really a major milestone for Polkadot ecosystem, because
Totally.
finally, there's a place that, or there's a chance that Polkadot is not only a technical narrative. We can really feel and feel the product, feel the technology. So it is really a very big leap forward. So
Yeah.
so
But I would like to say one thing about Hub. Internally at Polkadot, every one of us knows that this is Asset Hub on steroids, let's say. It's Asset Hub able to do more and more things. But the perception that everyone that is not on Polkadot right now, it is finally Polkadot has the main layer, the mainnet layer that was missing. Everyone is seeing Polkadot Hub as Ethereum mainnet, where you have a lot of parachains, L2s, that are working to, extend the utility of mainnet. And this is how it is perceived. It is something where the main team is focusing attention right now. So it is a major, as you were saying, it is a major advancement for the Polkadot ecosystem. And it is something that, in my opinion, will actually change the perception of Polkadot.
yes, it is true. And another very big strategic is after Gavin stepped onto the CEO of Parity, have switched the strategy from a protocol centric to the product centric. So as you mentioned, Polkadot Hub launched and more developers can deploy their dApps more fast and more easily, and individual developers have more chance to work on the Polkadot ecosystem. So as a BD team, so do you have some do you have to this strategy helps your work a lot, or you have to make some adjustment compared to before to adjust to get your work aligned to the Polkadot's new strategy?
I would say that this was a very big strategic shift. And when you have a big strategic shift, you need to adapt. You need to change something. And at the same time, we all know that crypto is actually also shifting a lot. So it is a major shift for everything right now. On the Polkadot side, focusing more on products. On one side, is saying, well, no one was able to deploy what was needed for Polkadot. And now we have a team that built everything that can actually get the best out of the tech that they built in order to deploy and deliver good products. And this is good. But as I was saying before, products need users, need the liquidity, etc. And that's why you go and chase people, well, projects, teams, companies that can give you the liquidity or the utility extensions that you need. Because at the end, a product without users, a product without distribution is not used. And it takes a lot of time to get some, real numbers. This is the shift, why we are talking now about Web 2 to Web 3, why we're talking about, working with projects, teams, companies that can bring on Polkadot the distribution, new channels, new onboarding channels. Because at the end, let's remember that crypto, even if it is becoming very big, it is still very small comparing to the real economy. Still, people don't know how to, onboard on crypto. So you need new ways to, bridge in on crypto, for example, but in the same time, being able to do it on Polkadot in a more seamless way than in the past. There were always some issues, even if they were a lot of great advancement on bridging from Polkadot to other ecosystem, and you need the liquidity that should come from other ecosystem. So there are a lot of stuff that are needed from the BD side in order to make it through. And something, of course, is something that some of them is something that I guess Parity is working on directly, maybe Web3 Foundation, many other players. One of the nice thing of Polkadot was the decentralized approach, meaning that many, also in the community, in the governance side, are working with the same objective, making Polkadot bigger. So when we act as Magenta, we act following our mandate, but also the engagement that we think is the best one to deliver more value to Polkadot. That's why we are focusing on Web 2 to Web 3, knowing that there will be others that, of course, will focus also on just Web 3 native people, others that will look at big brands that we are not in touch with, etc. This is the part of the coordination play that I was saying at the beginning. Coordination in the centralized ecosystem is what makes everything work and be successful. And this is needed. This is very needed. But at the same time, you were asking me about strategy shift. Yes, there were adjustments that must be made. And I would like to add something about it. The strategic shift is also, as you were saying, of Gavin Wood going back to be CEO of Parity. Well, let me say that this is something that was perceived as extremely bullish by many, many big crypto players. Because when the founder of a team, of a big ecosystem as this one, can come back and start working on it, it is a bullish sign. Of course, it was, and it is challenging for everyone, but following strict KPIs that are agreed, that are with the realistic scopes, knowing what you need, knowing what you have to ship, well, it is a good way to start. But it makes even more clear what I was saying before. Now it is not a narrative BD play. Now it is a impact BD play. I don't even know if it is the case to call it BD. It is really being able to sell the quality of this ecosystem to people that will give more value to it because they are coming, because they are interacting with others, because they are sending utility to DOT, because they are using the tech, they are proving that the tech is very good. So it is now, instead of just looking for new project that maybe or maybe not they want to deploy on Polkadot is finding how to fill the gaps.
I heard you saying that the strategy shift and the tons of work that have to be done and has been done, and let me raise a common concerns from the community, and I believe there may be some misunderstanding here, but it's a good opportunity to clarify. As you mentioned, you have reached out to around 300 companies or project and
Yep.
try, yeah, but from the outside, some people feel that in 2025 there hasn't been many new projects in Polkadot ecosystem, so they raise the question is that they challenged that where the impact of BD efforts actually showing up.
Well, first of all, as I was saying, BD is a decentralized on Polkadot. There are many teams that are doing a lot of work on many different stuff.
Mhm.
And the second part that I mentioned before is that where project we're supposed to deploy if Hub will be launched this month. So I think that the misunderstanding, as you were saying before, was on the sort of expectations. In order to get results, you need to build the foundation. Of course, on our side, the Magenta side, the foundation was building this enormous pipeline of projects that are willing to deploy on Polkadot. But on the other side is giving the chance to everyone to do it. And that was the amazing job that was done by Parity. They were able to readapt Asset Hub and making it a new chain, because it is a new chain that is EVM compatible, that will give everyone the chance to deploy. So the expectation should have been mostly on launching a great chain as the one that is going to be launched very soon, then expecting that something will be launched when the chain is not there. Because at the end, at the same time, I can say that as Magenta, we help doing, I don't know, we will help the launch of a new chain, a new parachain as Mubert. We help new experiments on the governance side also with Nouns DAO that is now participating to governance. We helped putting Dot and Polkadot in some of the analytics projects that are around. We helped also adding some infrastructure to Polkadot. This is something that we did because it was possible, because the technology was good enough to do it. But for the rest of them, you need a chain. And the question was, should we deploy on existing parachain or wait for Polkadot Hub? Our mandate was Polkadot Hub. So that's why we focus on Polkadot app. I cannot respond to what other people were saying, other entities, other projects, other companies, etc. But this is our mandate, and that's what we did and we are doing.
Yeah, previously the Polkadot underlying infrastructure is really put out some limitations for the outcomes that we can actually produce, and now Polkadot Hub can make sure that the individual developers or your work can showing up in the future.
Yeah, exactly. Not just Magenta work, everyone work.
Yeah.
Because the most incredible thing is actually being able to launch a chain with a double virtual machine that is able to run everything that was run in the past, but also new things. I would like to, enhance also when there was the transition from Asset Hub, and that was so fast and without breaks that is showing the quality of the engineers at Parity. So what I'm saying is that I know that the expectation of the community is most of the time based on announcement, but also on how the token will react. But the token most of the time is not just linked to announcement. And as it was linked to announcement that it was maybe 2-3 years ago. Now it's
Mm,
different. And what you should focus is a midterm, long-term play where you see real growth, real implementation, real outcomes, not just saying that, I don't know, Starbucks will come to Polkadot, because we saw a lot of proof of concept in the past. We saw a lot of MVPs in many different ecosystems, but they didn't create any stickiness. They didn't create any real growth, any value. Right now, what is needed is something more serious that
mm,
will actually lead to real growth. And it is what is happening in many other ecosystems. It is what
mm,
is happening on major ecosystems that are actually growing. And it is what, in my opinion, will happen on Polkadot too.
mm. Yeah, it is a question that happening in other ecosystem, but there's you know situation that we have to face uh very closely, which is uh the inflation will reduce to 3%, and so the inflow into the Polkadot treasury is shrinking very fast. So the funding from the OpenGov have you know, it's more hard to get funding from the Polkadot treasury. But uh, when you have done a lot of work for BD and you attract a new project into the Polkadot ecosystem, you know, ideally they can get funding from the Polkadot ecosystem for their sustainable growth. So in this situation in the future, that it's maybe harder for the Polkadot ecosystem to get funding from the OpenGov, and now it's more harder for Polkadot ecosystem's project to get funding from the outside ecosystem, the VC. So this is really the challenge that we're facing. So do you have some how do
This
you
is a great point. This is a great point, and it is very relevant. But it is very relevant not just on Polkadot, on all crypto. This is something that is happening everywhere. It's not just Polkadot. It's not that Polkadot wake up one morning and say, "Okay, let's stop this." This is something that is happening on all the crypto world. Web3 right now is more mature and it is becoming more selective. Funding is becoming more selective, and not because there are not great builders, great projects, great things to fund, but because the selection is very necessary, because you need to narrow the scope right now. You need to make a sense of what is there. You need to have also faster delivery. You need everything to be outcome driven. You cannot wait 10 years to see something that is going to happen. It is very important to know that is, as in Web 2, now also in Web 3, you need to see projects that will become self-sustainable. Self-sustainable, it means generating revenues. Without being able to generate revenues, you're actually telling a project, okay, come, I will fund you forever, even if you're not able to. While you can do it, and it makes a lot of sense to do it for some systemic projects that will help on the infra side for everyone to do something more, but an infra that maybe is not able to fund for itself. When a project is looking to deploy because they have a monetization sort of revenue in mind, well, they should plan it. They cannot just experiment without thinking how this experiment will go. It is just a more mature phase. Crypto is becoming more mature. Crypto is becoming a place where funding is there, will be always there in all crypto. Sometimes, most of the time, maybe it's shifting from treasuries through VCs. But let's think about VCs. VCs are not demons. VCs are people that just want to drive value for themselves while driving value for good projects. So project must become more mature themselves. They must be able to see how they are able to give utility, but also being able to take care of themselves. This shift is very, very important. And I'm not talking about Polkadot now, I'm talking about every single ecosystem. A project, when apply for something, and we saw that by the end of this year, Web3 Foundation actually posted a blog about grants, about growth, etc. They are not saying that people should not apply to anything. They are saying that everything must align with what Polkadot needs. This is very
Mhm.
different. It means that open grants are not there, but
Mhm.
funding for real impact, for real growth is there, especially if you are able to take care of yourself in a reasonable amount of time. Everything
Mhm.
comes from a very big Web3 market reset. As I was saying, it is not limited to Polkadot. Just go around. The big grants that were there before are not there anymore. And it is not the crypto is becoming poorer. We know that crypto is even richer than before. But what is
Mhm.
happening? The appetite to risk on everything instead of being very focused on what is needed now is not there, this appetite. Now the appetite is on real impact and growth.
Mhm.
On crypto, we always waited for institutions to come, for the market to come, to liquidity to come. Now we have ETF, we have compliance, we have countless countries that are seeing crypto as a reputable place where to make money. But at the
Mhm.
same time, we cannot stay in the naivete that we had in the past. We need to grow with this. We need to become, you know, market ready. And market ready means also that just the best one will be filters because they are giving utility and growth to everyone. Again, there will be always, in my opinion, just my opinion, grants for experimentation, grants to launch POCs, grants to launch a lot of stuff, but they should be tied to what each ecosystem is looking for. And second, if you want to grow from a experiment, from a POC or whatever, you need to have a clear idea on how you will be able to take care of yourself in the future.
Yeah, maybe it is too easy previously for project to get funding from OpenGov.
Oh,
Now the
but it is not an open gov problem, as I was saying. It was happening everywhere at the same time, in the same way. I don't think that open gov was had took bad decision. It was a shift in the mindset. This is what it
yeah,
was. We are not
yeah,
saying that in the past they were wrong or they made mistake. What I'm saying is that when maturity comes, everything must adapt.
yeah. They have to grow. They have to learn to stand on their own foot and to generate revenues to
Yeah.
be, yeah, more excellent. So back to Magenta. You are funding by the Web3 Foundation. Um, do you ever consider it to, generate revenue all by yourself?
Yes, of course. This is as I was saying, this is something that must be done by everyone, not just by people that I'm talking with. This is something that should be relevant for everyone. Crypto is changing, crypto change already, and everything organization that want to sustain, they want to go on, they must become durable and they must become also accountable. So, we have ideas and plans on how to make it work. As you know, maybe I think that you know because we had a chat about it, but it was in person, so I'm sharing. We are also deriving value to some funds and VCs, sending good projects to them, etc. And this could be one way, but there are other ways to fuel this growth. Of course, I'm not able to share everything right now, but of course, we have plans to become self-sustainable, so to drive revenues ourselves as everyone else should.
Yes, everyone else too. Okay, let's move forward to the Magenta's focus areas. You've already Magenta have a publicly released that your focus are four directions: RWA, AI, DP, and DeFi. And And you know, why do you choose this for directors? Do you think that Polkadot have more can offer technical advantages that make it a better fit for this sector, or any reason else?
Well, there are two main reasons. One is what you said. We think that Polkadot Tech gives the chance to grow these verticals, these categories in a great way, but also because there is real market demand. You must always remember, everyone should remember that for something to grow, there must be market demand. And it is again from our previous conversation. Before, we saw a lot of experiments where there was no reason, because there was no one that was creating the demand. Now we know the demand is there, and so it makes sense to work on this. Of course, we need to have something, a deployment surface that works very well, and we think the Polkadot Hub is going to be this one. But I want to share that for us, AWA, AI, DePIN, DeFi are not buzzwords. There is a lot that we're thinking about it, and the real companies, teams, projects that we are talking with that will do something good. For example, let's talk about AWA and maybe a crossover with AI, a crossover with DeFi, a crossover with DePIN, and it is about payment rails. There are major ecosystems that now are building strong payment rails. And we think that Polkadot would be amazing for payment rails, especially for agentic payment rails. Agentic payment rails is something that is not very developed in Web3, but actually is the best place where you have agents that will actually transact on-chain, fully verifiable, and you can verify both the agent and the transaction. And Polkadot seems a perfect fit for it. And this is one of them. On the other side, RWA is on the mouth of everyone since 1 year. Is there something real? Of course there is, but it takes time. We were talking about RWA maybe 3 years ago when NFTs were there. Everyone will say, oh, let's tokenize this land, this house, etc. But nothing happened. Why? Something happened, and something is happening. But the real change will be when everything that will be tokenized will become interoperable with DeFi. Well, on one side, you have, I don't know, all your properties on chain, but you're still, a writing on the chain, and actually it doesn't change anything than just having in a book and actually being able to use them as a collateral or sell them on chain, or be able to fragment them and then sell just shares of them. This is something that now is going to happen, and it is becoming real. Why now? Because now we have compliance. We have a lot of regulation that are being done, that are coming, that will help this. Is this going to be the killer app for crypto? I think that crypto is its own killer app. Crypto is expanding in an amazing way some of the verticals that we had already: finance, prediction markets, perpetual that are part of finance. Also being able to expand how properties are managed through, as I was saying, RWAs. But also this gives you more intel, more visibility, more traceability, and transparency, things that are due and are needed. I don't think that everything will be permissionless, of course, because compliance is there to, everyone in crypto had always big dreams of a better world without borders, and every one of us still dream about it. But we need to take small steps. Small steps is also adapting to current regulation, current compliance terms, and try to make them better, try to improve them. Because at the end, if we want everyone to trust crypto, they need to know that they can trust it. There is not just a place where scammers can go around, take everything that you want. So sorry, I took another route, but anyway, it is to say that we really think that these four are very important categories and vertical that should be posted, that should be taken care of, growth, etc., especially on the Web 2 to Web 3 side, as I was saying, because this is where everything is going. If
Mm,
Polkadot can become, I don't know, the place for agentic payment, we will see a dramatic growth, for example. If we see Polkadot growing as it is already on the stablecoin side, it means that a lot of liquidity is coming and can be used for other applications. If we can see also something that I didn't mention, what we are working a lot also is integrations to Polkadot products. We know that Parity is going to deploy a lot of products. Many of them are not known. And everyone is, as I do, waiting to know what they will be, because I'm sure that they will be great. But let's talk about two of them that were already mentioned. Proof of Personhood is a
mhm,
great product, and Polkadot App. Both of them, we are working already to understand how we could expand the utility of these apps, how these apps can become the ground where you can add pieces to give more to the public. Because the more utility, the better UX, the better usability will bring more people, more users, and so more users to Polkadot. This is the overall direction that we're taking. Feel free to ask me more questions about it. I know that I was a little bit vague.
No, it's very informative information, and with the audience can learn a lot from that. And for the RWA and the tech and the market is more ready today. So, and let's back to DeFi. And on the other hand, is one of the more mature and market validated sectors. So, what is Magenta's main focus when it comes to DeFi BD today?
Oh, this is very, very hard, to be very honest. DeFi is changing every day. No one, maybe, if you ask five people will give you a different answer on what DeFi is today. But
Mhm,
let's talk about DeFi. So the focus for us, for Magenta, is not just DeFi by itself. DeFi, as you just said, is very mature now. It's a different product. The bar is higher. It is not just, well, come and deploy a contract and let's see. You need to bring something that will give real liquidity, usability. So again, what I think DeFi should become more and more is about stablecoin rails, agentic rails, wallets, on ramps, off ramps, liquidity provider, liquidity partners, risk tooling, a lot of stuff, but also perps that are very important. They are becoming a major part of DeFi. And I see also prediction market being part of DeFi.
mm,
I know that they are not in the category, but I see prediction market as part of DeFi, for example.
mm,
So, and we want also to see on our side, DeFi is also an instrument, a tool to help the growth of other categories. Let's
mhm,
merge DeFi with DeepIn. Let's merge DeFi with AI. Let's see how one category can actually use the other category, connecting different partners you're talking with to create new products, to expand there. Because let's remember one thing about DeFi and Polkadot. Polkadot could take a very easy decision. Let's do what everyone else is doing. Let's become a copy-paste ecosystem. And let's try to attract liquidity here. We have so many DeFi-led chains on the Ethereum ecosystem, but also on others, on Cosmos, etc. Let's do the same. What Polkadot is saying is different. Let's see how DeFi can use Polkadot technology to do something new, something different. So it is a work in progress, let's say. I share with you some guidelines that we're using, but
mhm,
my opinion, DeFi should be a bit different of Polkadot, should become a product that is built on a different tech, that should give people more tools more utility than what is done today. Should not be just a speculation asset, should be an engine for real growth as well, and should be the way that other categories, others verticals will grow over time because they are able to use this fuel that is, liquidity to grow.
Yeah, we need I heard you saying that we need more tools to support DeFi, but we also can see that in other ecosystem, their tools is not not very ready as well, but they have a hyped product. For example, like Aster in Binance ecosystem, uh, and they are kind of a breakout, in the DeFi ecosystem. So why not Polkadot haven't yet produced such a product? What has been missing?
There are things that are missing, that were missing, and I think that those things will be progressively, uh, they will progressively grow on Polkadot. In order to have a breakout like Aster, as you mentioned, you
Mm.
need to have, of course, a very good product, and you need a great team to develop a great product. But then you need liquidity and you need distribution.
Mm.
Liquidity and distribution are not easy to achieve, especially if you don't have what I think right now Polkadot will have. So a main chain that will become the main hub of liquidity. Asset Hub was supposed to be this one, but actually it didn't have all the tools in order to do it. Now there will be a focus on Asset Hub and Polkadot Hub, and I think that can attract the liquidity and distribution to do it, because we must always remember that every single one of these projects is not meant to be an experiment, it's not something that I am building in my free time. It's a new business, it's a new company. A new company must always maximize the chance of success and the amount of revenues that you will be able to drive. So you will target ecosystem that will give you a better chance to succeed. If you do it on Polkadot today, while you are capturing probably 99% of the Polkadot community, you won't be able to capture as much liquidity is needed to attract more than that. And you cannot drive on incentive, on promising an airdrop in the future all the time. You need the real distribution and where these people are coming from, where the liquidity is coming from. I think that Polkadot app is a way to bridge this to Polkadot, and then in the future we will be able to see something like this. You mentioned Aster. Aster is built on Binance, and it's difficult for me to think of an ecosystem that has bigger liquidity and distribution. We can mention Base with Coinbase. We see that at the end, the chains that are most successful right now are the ones with bigger distribution. Many complain that Arbitrum probably paid a reasonable amount of money to get Robinhood. But at the same time, even if it's not yet integrated, they spent money to get Robinhood distribution.
Mm.
And I am not able to tell you if it was a good choice or not, because sometimes we saw similar experiments in the past and it was just money that was thrown away without any impact. So it was a very, very bold move from Arbitrum. But at the end, what they're trying to do, expand distribution beyond the Web3 limits of the same people that are trading all the time. Coinbase is doing it, Binance is doing it, and at the end, it's a way to do it. I don't think that this is the direction that Polkadot will take for many reasons. One is also ethos. Polkadot ethos is different from others. Polkadot ethos is very cypherpunk. It is very crypto. So, this combination of, centralized and decentralized is something that I don't expect to happen, but who knows? I don't know. I'm not able to foresee it. But I'm sure that by itself will be able to attract enough liquidity, enough distribution to attract these kind of projects in the future.
Mm, yes, I think, yeah, in the future, it's really a battle tested for the Polkadot ecosystem because, yeah, we very looking forward that Polkadot can have their own product that break out, not,
Yeah.
yeah, not just some products similar to other ecosystems. Because we have a different culture and we can, just cultivate different product. And
And also different tech. This is
yes.
very important. When the Polkadot Hub and all the new products will show that this tech can implement great products, it will be also simpler to convince teams that maybe no one even knows that the best place where to build is actually Polkadot.
Mm, yeah. Your work uh, is mainly focusing on bring the Web 2 users to Web 3, and there are many sectors you've been talking about and working on, and the prediction market is really a breakout example,
Yeah,
for attracting Web 2 users to Web 3, and also the World Cup is coming in
yeah.
2026. I think it's another boost for this sector's product. Do you have you some considered, put more effort on BD on this direction, or do you think that prediction market should be happen in Polkadot ecosystem as well?
I think that prediction markets, as I was saying before, is a very good use case for crypto. Prediction market, we call it with this very nice word, prediction markets. And actually, prediction markets can become a very important way to understand the direction for the centralized governance, for the centralized decision. Because at the end, if you're gambling with your own money on this, it means that you have pretty good faith that something is going in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
We can say also that prediction market is a sort of a gambling kind of things. And
Yeah.
gambling was always very important in crypto. It was not very legal, to be very honest, because there was no compliance, there was anything. But gambling was around still at Bitcoin time, on early Ethereum times. And people were actually gambling on on crypto because of it. So I think it's a great way, in a legit, compliant way, to attract liquidity and distribution, but also used in a good way to address, as a sort of decentralized governance, some decisions on how on where everything should grow, or also to anticipate where everything is going. I think that prediction market, having a great prediction market on Polkadot would be amazing. Also for a different reason.
Mm,
Prediction market gambling will always able to attract a lot of people from Web2, because
mm,
prediction market always used to have great interfaces, so great UX, uh, to give the chance to everyone to participate without even knowing that this is crypto. And this is how Polymarket was able to grow so much. Polymarket right now is placing bets on everything, and everyone is betting, even if they don't even know what Bitcoin is, even if they don't even know what Ethereum is. So I see prediction markets, maybe in a different kind, less speculative, a great a great addition to the Polkadot ecosystem in the future. Regarding World Cup, well, you are completely right. There are sometimes big events that will drive attention and can give the chance to ecosystem to become not just seen, because this is the marketing part, but also used. Because as I was saying before, while everyone knows that marketing is very important, if you just run an announcement, Maybe you will attract people for 2 days, but then that's it. You need real outcomes out of it. The marketing part should be just the last, should be just when you are promoting what you're building, should not the news itself. Because if the product is the news, well, you are a marketing company, you're not an ecosystem. But yeah, it would be great. There are great ways to attract Web 2 people, as I was saying, Web 2 companies that they have their own people, they have their own retail users that are already used to buy, to pay, to give attention to something. When this thing will be on Web3 will be the tech beside most of the things in the world, in my opinion. I think that Web3 is not yet 100% ready for it, but we are closer than we think.
Yeah, you've mentioned the prediction is kind of gambling. Of course, people love gambling and can attract users. And Gavin also mentioned that for the product they are going to delivery in the future may more focus on the products that can really close to people's real life, can really make their life more comfortable or easy. So I think both are very good product, and just let's see that what works best for the Polkadot ecosystem. And to wrap up, because we've touched tons of knowledge today, I think the audience need time to sink in, and also we will help the audience to understand our conversation. We will have highlighted clips of our conversation, and also we will summarize the main point as a article to publish on our WeChat channel, so people in our community can follow closely to that. And I think it's time to wrap up our conversation. But last but not least, you can share with our audience that what are the three things you are mostly excited about in 2026, whether for Magenta Labs, Polkadot, or the broader ecosystem.
Well, Magenta is part of the overall crypto ecosystem. So I'm excited to be part of Web3. But what I am most excited for 2026, let's start from Polkadot. On the Polkadot side, I'm very excited to see Hub being launched and become mature. This would be a major turning point for the Polkadot ecosystem. I think that also the community will be very excited about it, etc. So I think that it will be great. Well, for Magenta, it will be the time also to be able to push deployments on it, and it will be exciting. For the overall crypto, well, it is a very different year, this one. Different from the others. As I was saying, there are shifting forces that are greater and bigger than in the past. I'm excited to see crypto hopefully becoming really the payment rails for everything in this world. And also to see agentic payment rails on crypto, because there will be a way also to, check that everything is working transparently, not just random things that is owned by a company and that's it. I'm also curious, more than excited, to see if actually the overall culture in crypto will push less promises and more facts, because this should be the time to start delivering what everyone wishes. That crypto becoming really a big new market where everything can happen, and not just, as I was saying, speculation and others. We're moving to there. Maybe it won't be 2026, but seeing this ecosystem becoming more mature would be great. There are a lot of things that make me curious, but these are the main ones.
Yeah, may Polkadot and the whole Web3 ecosystem sustainable growing in the future in 2026.
Yeah, this is extremely important.
Mhm.
And let's see how everything will drive. With just the beginning of the year. We're
Mhm.
still under the influx of holidays. We know that sometimes crypto doesn't even start talking before Denver, for example, or maybe consensus in Hong Kong this year. Let's see.
Mm,
I'm curious to see how everything will grow, how the communities will react, how many people crypto will be able to grow this year, hopefully, and
mhm,
the overall direction. I hope that the ethos of crypto will expand more on the world and not
mm,
seeing just, Web 2 values, if you can call them like this, becoming mainstream in Web 3.
Okay. Okay. Thanks for sharing and thanks for audience for watching. And we will keep closely to the uh, development and updates from the Magenta. And hope you can come to our broadcast later in the future.
Hope so.
Um,
Happy to and
yeah.
hope so. Thank you, Kristen.
Mhm. And until next time, and thank you, really really appreciate that you can share so much information to the community, and so they can have a fully understanding that what's going on in the Polkadot ecosystem, and what is the really market now, and what's the biggest effort focusing on now that really will boost their confidence in the Polkadot or broader Web3 ecosystem. Thank you so much.
Well, I hope so. I'm not talking for the overall ecosystem, of course. I'm talking individually. I hope that my perception, what I'm seeing, what I'm saying, makes sense for everyone. And as everyone else, I really hope and have strong faith that it will be great here for Polkadot.
Mhm. Okay, see you and have a good day. And until next time.
Thank you, Kristen. Thank you for having me.
Mhm. Okay, and the